Welcome to Treasure Island, the classic novel by Robert Louis Stevenson. Chapter 3, The Black Spot. One afternoon, I went to the captain's room to bring him some food and medicine. He looked pale and dazed, his face blank and vacant. As I entered, he muttered, "Jim, it's just you and me now. Everyone else despises me, casts me aside like a broken spar. But you know, lad, I've always been good to you. Every month I gave you 4 pence, didn't I? Now, do me a favor, eh? Bring me a glass of rum." I began to protest. "The doctor said—" But before I could finish, he burst out angrily. "Doctors know nothing. What could that sawbones possibly understand about sailors like us? I've weathered fiery lands, the earth hot as a forge, quaking beneath my feet, and I've lived on rum, I tell you. Rum was my food, my drink, my mate. Without rum, I'm no better than a rag on the wind. Curse that doctor, the scoundrel." Then his voice softened, almost pleading. "Jim, look at my hands. They're trembling like leaves. Just one sip of rum, and I'll be myself again. If you don't bring me some, I swear I'll go mad. I've already seen Flint, there, standing in the corner. I'll give you a gold guinea, Jim, for just one glass." His hand shook as he held out the coin. I felt my stomach twist with anger. Still, I thought of my father, who lay gravely ill and needed peace and quiet. So, gritting my teeth, I said, "I don't want your money, only what you owe my father. I'll bring you one glass, but just one." When I handed him the glass, he drained it in a single gulp and sighed. "Ah, that's better. Now tell me, lad, what did that doctor say about how long I've got to stay in this cursed bed?" "At least a week," I replied. He let out a loud groan. "A week! Blast it all! That won't do. They'll have the black spot on me by then." He tried to push himself up, but fell back, weak and trembling. I asked hesitantly, "What's the black spot?" "It's a summons," he growled. "A warning that the crew is after me. If they send it, it means they're coming for my sea chest. The scoundrels want to steal what isn't theirs. But listen, Jim, if they send the black spot, you must act fast. Borrow a horse and ride straight to the doctor. Tell him to gather the magistrates, the constables, everyone, and set an ambush here. They'll find Flint's whole crew. I was his first mate, you know, the only one Flint trusted. On his deathbed, he gave me the location of the treasure. No one else knows where it is, only me." His voice grew weaker as he rambled on, until finally he sank into a heavy sleep. I thought of going to the doctor at once to tell him everything, but before I could act, a greater tragedy struck. My father passed away that evening. The grief of my father's death, the preparations for the funeral, and the endless work at the inn left me little time to think about the captain or fear him. Yet, the next morning, to my amazement, he was downstairs again. He ate sparingly, but helped himself to rum from the bar, scowling and snorting like an angry bull. He would mutter to himself or hum strange tunes, including a gentle love song that seemed out of place on his coarse lips. The day after the funeral, in the late afternoon, I was standing outside the inn, lost in thought about my father, when I noticed a figure slowly approaching along the road. It was an old man, hunched over, with a tattered sea cloak and a green shade covering his eyes and nose. He tapped the ground before him with a stick, and I could tell at once that he was blind. When he reached the inn, he stopped and raised his voice in a strange sing-song tone. "Will any kind soul tell a poor blind man where he is? I have lost my sight in the noble service of my country. God bless King George." Moved by his words and still tender with grief, I called out, "You're at the Admiral Benbow Inn, sir." He turned toward my voice. "Ah, a kind young friend. Will you take my hand and lead me in?" Without hesitation, I stepped forward and offered my hand. The moment he gripped it, I realized my mistake. His hand was cold and strong as iron. He yanked me close, and his voice turned harsh. "Now, boy, take me to the captain." Fear gripped me. I stammered, I can't, sir." The blind man sneered and twisted my arm cruelly. "March, boy, or I'll snap your arm like a twig." His voice was colder and crueler than anything I had ever heard. Terrified, I obeyed, leading him through the inn and into the parlor, where Billy Bones sat slumped over, dazed with rum. At the sound of the blind man's stick tapping on the floor, the captain looked up. The sight of the blind man seemed to sober him instantly. He stared, his eyes wide with dread, his body trembling. "Stay where you are, Bill," the blind man rasped. "Don't move a finger." Then, turning to me, he barked, "Boy, take his left hand and bring it near mine." I obeyed, trembling, as the blind man slipped a small object into Billy Bones's palm. The captain clutched it tightly, and the blind man let go of my arm. In the next instant, he was out of the inn, his stick tapping along the road, and soon the sound faded into the distance. The captain's voice trembled as he read, "10 o'clock, 6 hours. We'll do them yet." He staggered to his feet, but swayed as though the weight of the paper had crushed him. Clutching his throat, he let out a strangled cry, then collapsed face first onto the floor. I rushed to his side and called for my mother, but it was too late. Billy Bones was dead.